Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the intersection of academic cowardice and proletariat cosplay. A proletariat is the poorest class of working people. They are the peasant wage earner that possesses no capital and trades labor for money. When I speak of academic cowardice, I'm speaking of college professors who will not speak out in the face of wrongdoing just to keep their job, just to keep funding for research. They are the people who allow viruses to be weaponized. And they'll do so because they know they can keep the funding going for the different types of research that they have. So they don't want to rock the boat. They're the same type of person that will not speak out when they see enemy ideologies interfering with the modern day functioning of a school curriculum. Social justice ideology rejects intellectual diversity in favor of manufactured diversity that is the sheep's wool that hides the wolf of Marxist ideas beneath. Universities are incubators for this type of thinking that is considered fashionable under the old model of academic bravery and virtue signaling that saw the students speaking out against crimes against humanity. Yet the roles have been reversed, and the academic rebel is now the hypocrite and a Manchurian candidate happily executing false flags with no knowledge of their complicitness in the acts that they are involved in, the involvement in their own downfall. Essentially, the Willie Lynch syndrome has become the saboteur's playbook for toppling a capitalist society.
The biggest issue we got, if you're not familiar with Willie Lynch, a lot of white people aren't familiar with it. Was these notes that came out
Explain it to them.
during the 50s and 60s. And basically they were saying how to make a slave. It's Willie Lynch, How to Make a Slave. And it talks about how to break people and how to separate them by class. And one of the things Willie Lynch talks about is he separates the black slave by complexion. So you got the nigger, then you got the mulatto, quadroon, quadroon, all this other stuff. And what they're doing is they're dividing black people based on complexion. So if you're
But that word mulatto was created by a European. It's an Italian word.
Yes.
It means mixed, but see, it was created to
like
create
a mule, like
to
a mutt.
create a division. So as a method of control. And so essentially the Willie Lynch system is a categories of derision that's being used to divide people, and through that division they control themselves. They police themselves.
Yes, they police them. That's very deep. They police
through
themselves.
a mind control, MK Ultra behavior of the oldest type.
But the reason this is so important is because right now we fight amongst ourselves over things like, I'm going to throw this out here and I'm going to not be popular. Global warming. I personally say global warming doesn't exist. Now, I do believe in ecology and saving the environment. I believe that wholeheartedly. The environment. I believe in taking care of Mother. I just don't believe the whole thing that global warming exists. My brother disagrees with me, but we don't fight about it. Like, hey, I'm saying based on some of the scientific stuff I've seen, when they go, or we talked about it before, when they do these core samples up in Antarctica or Arctica, whichever one it is, they go down like 100 feet, and they have these core samples which are based on the different thickness of the ice shows that this whatever shows a 300, 400 year weather pattern. And the weather patterns we're in now are based on that. So I'm saying that if I say that at a business or at my kid's school right now, all of a sudden I'm a Trump supporter. You're a racist. I'm like, okay, whoa. Because I say.
But see, that is a trick. By doing that, by saying that you are an anti-Semite when you absolutely, in the most smallest way, criticize Palestine, or excuse me, Israel, then you're
Israel. Yeah.
considered
I'm sorry.
an
Yeah.
anti-Semite. But see, that's a knee-jerk reaction. And even Mossad has said that it is being done purposely. That word is being used
Yes.
to deflect from the real problem.
That means
So
you can never speak up without if you're afraid.
the
You're so
con-
afraid.
the argument is stopped by using a word. So it's really a spell. They are casting spells by using words. And by speaking this word, you shut down all the power of the argument.
You shut down any ability to advance. Also, that's
Only
the biggest
only
thing.
if you are dealing with people that are easily dissuaded.
Here's my issue. I'm not so big about talking about race. I'm more big about doing things about certain situations. And right now, that's the biggest thing is we want to talk about race. The Democrats love to throw that out there. We love to talk about race. Republicans love to create laws that are racist as hell, and that's what we. So we're both caught up in semantics when we're not advancing. Nobody's
Semantics.
helping, and you get caught up on the little details. Well, Democrats like right now, the big thing that all the woke black people will say is we got Juneteenth. But all the real black people like, okay, but we asked for an anti-lynching law. We've been asking for an anti-lynching law for 40 years, and they won't give us an anti-lynching law. But Asians get beat up, Asians get killed, they get the Asian law right away. And that was one of the first things that Joe Biden did was, Asian hate law. Now, here's the problem with that. I'm glad you guys have an Asian hate law. But what about me? What about my people? We've been asking for an anti-lynch bill, but you gave us Juneteenth. So right there, now you've already created a new argument. Now, me and my people are mad at the Asians when the Asians didn't do anything wrong. It's the white folks that are more worried about the Asian money. And so when you do these things, that causes division and derision. Back to the Willie Lynch syndrome. What it does is now it causes you to police yourselves, and the people in power don't have to keep you in line because you want to maintain your status at any cost. And a little bit of status that you have, based on your complexion, based on where you live, based on anything, and you want to fight for that status instead of fighting for freedom. You when you squabble over crumbs, you don't reckon when the person in charge keeps you fighting over just daily necessity, you'll never rise up and fight them. Uh, it's it's not done by accident. When you do any kind of reading, you realize that, for instance, we've talked about this over and over. Uh, was it Blumenbach? He's the one who set a lot of these things up. So you realize that not only was he helping with the slave situation in South Carolina, but like my brother told you guys a couple of podcasts ago, that was the seeds for the Nazi Party. That was the seeds for control. And when you plant those seeds, they germinate, and they germinate over generations. The same thing that when you discuss the Willie Lynch, we're still fighting over complexion. And we're fighting over things like Crips and Bloods. We're fighting over hoods. We're fighting over East Coast, West Coast. These things were put into place. And since we were already doing that behavior, when these new situations or these new conflicts arise, what do? We jump in both feet. Oh man, I love Tupac. I love Biggie. Fuck you then. Oh, I'm the South. And so since we've been fighting these wars already, whenever a new conflict comes up, instead of fighting the oppressor, we all volunteer for that new conflict. It's a complete way to control the masses.
What ends up happening is an ideological coronavirus that divides all citizens, spreading chaos and confusion to one another. They cheer empty victories of diversity while not realizing they are just workers, agents, easier to control, an egomaniacal zombie, happily trapped in a room full of mirrors, posing in each one, looking for the most flattering angle. Yes, you can choose my words. Yes, you can take all my rights away. Yes, you can determine the right thoughts I should have. Yes, 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 yes. You are now an NPC, a non-player character in a four-dimensional game.
but here's the issue. What we're trying to point out to you when it comes to academic cowardice, and I've said it before. My brother's pointed it out that people, when you have these wars, people are more worried about sounding intelligent than being intelligent, and that's why I always push out there that your actions are actual intelligence. So we need more gun control because when the fixes, we better see the fixes in. So you mean to tell me that right now we have more shootings than we had under Trump's entire administration? And Trump is the most racist, bigoted piece of shit God has ever created. And he played on people's fears and emotions. And we still had less shootings under him. Since Biden's been in there, we had like 95 shootings.
But this is the crazy part, though. People are always so trusting. And they let themselves be fooled. Nobody is willing to call the bullshit when it happens. But this is what happens, though. All these people that are labeled conspiracy theorists, and the people that are conscious, they are the ones that see it coming. They are the one that's screaming, "Hey man, the house is on fire." But nobody wants to complain about the house being on fire until it is burnt down. See, after everything is done, then everybody wants to point fingers and say, "Oh, this should have been this." This Johnny come lately mentality, I'm tired of it, man, because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, people I know very well that I've talked to, and they want to talk about, oh, well, 9/11 was this and 9/11 was that, but they didn't want to say anything, about it when this shit was going down. They didn't want to say anything about it 30 days after it happened, 30 months after it happened. They waited years and years and years before they spoke about it until a news outlet that they trust spoke out about it. And then now it's okay. It's in vogue for them to speak out about it. But that's the problem.
Hold it. That's deep. Hold it. That's real deep. Roscoe, that's deep. Because what it's saying is that you need somebody to either justify.
Co-sign.
Yes, somebody to co-sign on what you either believe or know. That means that
means these people are looking for validation. They want somebody to validate their reality. There you go. Yeah. Say that. They cannot think for themselves, so they need some person in a suit behind a desk shuffling papers with a fake Botox ass face telling them what reality is. They can't question it on their own. There's no critical thinking on their own. And it's so funny because some of these people that are highly educated, these grizzled battlefield reporters who've seen all the atrocities of war, still won't believe none of this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. You've seen corruption at the highest and lowest levels. You've seen the worst of humanity. And yet you just want to keep drinking that Kool-Aid and you don't want to believe that the hand that feeds you has a dagger in the other hand.
The same one that manipulates you. The same one that keeps you broke. The same one that keeps you... But, okay, a deep conversation that's going on right now is that you got motherfuckers saying some real deep shit, but they ain't hyping it up. That little interview show that Talib Kweli has out there, and he was interviewing Jada Kiss. He was interviewing Jada Kiss. He said, "Ain't no balance in hip hop no more. Ain't no balance." He said, "All you have is just party and smoke weed, and you got somebody else speak up and say some shit, but that's not their genre." He said, "Before you had leaders of the new school, you had Public Enemy, you had 95 South, you had this, you had that, you had balance for everyone." And that was the whole argument. Then he also interviewed Chuck D. So Chuck D was giving an example of I forgot the girl's name, the lady that got him involved with the Grammy committee, and she came to him for more diversity, and he said, "Yeah, the only people you're giving Grammys to are like Jay-Z or Drake, people who push corporate agenda." And he said, "This and Jay, I'm saying that if you don't sell a bunch of albums and you're not on, then back in the day," he said, basically you're confining my genre of music to one thing.
There is no punk rock anymore.
Yeah,
straight up.
Nope.
Listen. And when I say punk rock, I'm talking about an aesthetic. I'm talking about a state of mind, because there is no more raging against the machine. People now rage on behalf of the machine.
And so, and here's the crazy part. Old girl that got Chuck D involved, as soon as they got, because somebody told her go after Chuck D. Once she got him, fired her. And that's why Chuck said, I backed away. He said, because the one person pushing for real diversity, the one person for pushing for the boundaries of hip hop being included in the process, once you got me, you literally fired her. So what does that tell you? We have a homeboy that he was the multicultural diversity coordinator, excuse me, for OPS, which is Omaha Public Schools. And his job was to help with diversity and help with real issues of race that take place in Omaha Public Schools. So this he got fired from his job for doing his job. This only can happen to somebody of color or a minority, maybe a woman too. So please, I don't want to belittle women. So my homeboy, literally, I was like, man, I see all over the news he got fired. People are protesting he got fired. I'm like, hey, cuz, what you get fired for? He's like, man, he goes, I did my job. I said, what do you mean? So they were asking, there were some papers, there were some numbers out there that Hispanics and African American children were being suspended at a much higher rate than white children, and for much less things. So this news outlets asked him about it. He said, yeah, I'll give you the numbers. So he gave the numbers. He's like, well, if you give the numbers, maybe something can happen. Maybe the parents will get involved. Maybe, and it made the school system look bad. So they fired him for doing his.
This is on the news. This is like on Channel 7 News.
Yeah, this is everywhere. This happened years ago. He's working for. Here's the bad part. He's working for another school district in the West. Same job, making more money and being treated with respect. So, but like he didn't fall off.
So he just migrated to another platform. That's all.
Yeah, he's bigger and better.
But here's the problem. But that doesn't really apply to that situation. But what I want to say is that people, they keep pushing integration on people. See, diversity is more and more about integration. And integration is a big problem because integration, you're not taught to develop your community. You're taught to dilute your essence more and more and more. And this goes to what I'm speaking about one of the pillars of derision. And so by losing your identity, you become easier to control because you're more of a conformist. See, the greatest conformists rise to the highest echelons in our society, no matter what their chosen field is. They are a conformist. And even on college campuses, because now on college campuses, you are rewarded for virtue signaling to be a Marxist or a socialist. Because if you really look at it, that's what all this social justice stuff is rewarding, is you get brownie points. And all this is leading to a social credit system. And nobody sees this coming. Everybody is so busy telling on each other that they don't see that they are training their brain cells to be the perfect snitches in a totalitarian society. Just look at how this whole vaccine situation has everybody divided within communities, within families, within jobs, with all of it. I'll tell you something, man. Like the last couple of days, I've been working with a group of people. And these people that I've been working with, when you talk to these people, they have like pretty much different backgrounds, but they're all regular ass people. And what's interesting about these folks is that they're of different age groups, but they're not trying to be politically correct. But the funny thing is, this is what I find, is that if you get people alone or you get people like in intimate settings, a lot of that bullshit goes out the window. They're not trying to play that fucking game. What I mean is, if you get people, you don't even have to have drinks in people. They don't have to be drinking. Just in a place where they know they can speak their mind. Because if they're speaking their mind, they're going to crack jokes that are considered what people now say are off color. but are actually pretty fucking funny. You know what I mean? Like, and what I'm saying is that these people don't try to be fake, and it's refreshing. These people are just being themselves, and they're not worried about some ridiculous ass argument about non-gender pronouns. They really,
Repercussions that don't exist.
they really that don't exist. And somebody came to me the other day and said, it's ridiculous how America is letting itself be held hostage by less than a percent of people that are on social media. Less than 1% of people that are on social media. Because listen, man, listen. If you go out in the real fucking world, and I'm not talking about a university, I'm talking about where the rubber meets the road, and people are out there sweating for $1 and making it happen no matter how they get it. But you got real ass people speaking their fucking minds, and they're not concerned about some shit that they saw online. It may come up as some joke or some bullshit they saw on TikTok, but honestly, the real world is not really concerned with that bullshit. They look at that as they look at that like the way we look at people on the first 48, or the way we look at people on cops getting chased. Some dumb redneck motherfucker getting chased by police with no shirt on, running down the alleyway because he just ran out of a liquor store. That's how real ass people see this whole social media thing and this whole idea about, this gender pronoun bullshit. Listen, man, there is more important shit going on in the world. There is way more important stuff going on. And it's, you know what? The reason why I brought up academic cowardice is because nobody was talking about slavery in Libya. African slaves in Libya. Modern day slavery. Yes. Modern day slavery. Because of the power vacuum that was created when Hillary Clinton killed Muammar Gaddafi. See, they wouldn't talk about that in universities because the narrative was, oh, that's a sacred cow. We can't touch that. See, that's what I'm talking about. Those professors and those students that are willing to overlook these things because they're projectionists running their own movie theater, projecting their images of what they want onto you, onto the world, onto their reality. That's academic cowardice.
The reason this academic cowardice exists is because they have a safe place. They have a voice. They can speak up. But as long as they speak up within these certain guidelines, that shit is cool. One of the best teachers I had was one of probably the worst people I ever had. Also, was my teacher in high school. He was the DECA teacher, so he was a failed businessman. But when it came to being a teacher, he fucked with us, and he told us like, "Hey man, I did this and it didn't work." So it's refreshing that he had honesty, but that's what happens with the education system is that people who fail at their actual chosen profession are now becoming educators because, well, I get to do this job and get to work in the field I wanted to work in, kind of, sort of. Now, like the advice he gave me that was basically like, look, you never want to do a partnership. I said, why not? Because on TV, you see the sitcoms and, hey, Laverne and Shirley started a business together. He's like, never do a partnership because if your partner does something illegal, like say your partner sells drugs from your warehouse and you didn't know about it, you're both going to jail because it's a partnership. You're equal owners in it. He said you always do an LLC or some kind of corporation. That's what it stands for, Limited Liability Corporation.
That means you can't blame me for shit. That means
exactly.
I am protected under this umbrella.
Yeah. So, again, the reason he knows that is because something must have happened to him when he was in the business sector. That me and my homeboy basically screwed me over. The point we're making is that one of the problems with education is that these people who weren't successful. One of the analogies my brother Roscoe was talking about when he was going to film school, and all these people, all the so-called educators said teaching us how to make films, taught us how to work in the industry. Because for whatever reason, their dream got fucked up. So, hey, look, they try to teach you how to work in the film industry. They were like, hey, you'll be a good person if you do this. They'll hire you if you do this. You're like, what if I don't want to be hired? I came here to learn how to make it, to learn how to do special effects,
Look,
learn
man,
how to
when
shoot.
I was in film school, all they were talking about was getting a job at Turner Broadcasting. That's all everybody was talking about. And it blew my mind that nobody was talking about a film festival. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Are you serious? Like, I would go home, from school, and I would go watch IFC, Independent Film Channel. And I'm like, I'll watch all these,
All day long.
and I'll watch all these, well, not all day because I had shit going on, but
But that's not.
but you get my point. And then,
Yeah.
like I would come home and I'll see, I would come home from partying on a Saturday morning and it'd be some samurai movie from the 70s on at 5:30 in the morning. And I would just sit down high and watch these movies. And it was watching, see, but it didn't start there because I had learned these things watching movies as a kid. My taste
Hold, hold,
developed as a kid. But
hold,
hold
hold,
on. But my point is,
what
let me
was
make my point. Let me make my point. My point is that I was taught to be a worker bee in school. They taught me the
it?
skills of a filmmaker so that I could work for somebody else. They did not
Somebody else.
nurture your creativity. That is not nurtured at all. So then you wind up getting this huge ass massive bill for, college, and then you're paying off these student loans, and I'm like, what am I paying for? What the hell is this I'm paying on, man? Because I didn't get nothing out of it. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Hold it. What you got to remember is that, but we grew up watching
Cool
black
shit.
exploitation.
Cool shit. Cool shit.
I ain't got that yet. Hold it. So when you sit here and you watch a documentary about Dolomite, and then you find out Dolomite for many years was the highest grossing independent film.
Which is bananas.
Crazy. But that tells you he did it on his own. Me and my mom were talking about Hollywood Shuffle, and you find out that Robert
Bro,
Townsend used
love
his
it.
good credit, used his credit cards to make this movie, and so that's what. So you think that me based on what I know of you, you thought you wanted film school to learn how to do that shit. You're like, okay, they're going to tell me some inside information they gave me inside information how to become a fucking proletariat. They're teaching you how to be proletariat. That's why when these subversive ideas come out, they're like, yeah, right, worker. Look, here's a problem. If you're black and you woke, here's what you need to know. Capitalism is fucked up. Socialism, Marxism, fucked up too. So what you're arguing is which is the better slave master? No. What you need to be is like, capitalism, I'll get what I need, take care of my family, and we can start our own communities. How many of these black folks you see now buying land, starting their own cities, starting their own, because you can do that in this
But
country. You can
look,
do that.
but here's the problem. Here's the problem. These universities teach you how to be a proletariat, like you just said. But what has happened is that capitalism has caught up with this Marxist
Yes.
type of thinking.
That's deep.
So
Oh,
now,
deep. Preach.
so now what's
The
happening
church
is
say amen.
amen. So what's happening now is that society is caught up, tech companies have caught up with the universities in their ideology. And so now there's no more middle class. And
Nope.
so they allocated all these rights and tax cuts for the rich and shipped all the jobs overseas, and it's created the perfect system for the new feudalism. And so
Hold it. Hold it. These are all past episodes of the fifth grade mustache.
seventh
If you
grade.
listen, seventh grade mustache, you would know what we're talking about. The bottom line is that what they're doing is they're preparing you. They're giving you what you want. You want socialism? What happens when the housing market is so expensive, cars are so expensive, clothes are so expensive, you can't afford them at all. So you become a socialist by default.
Hey,
You have
listen. Flat Earth is a distraction. That all that stuff is a distraction to take your mind off of the real problem. That what's going on is that the rug has been pulled out from underneath you. The universities have been created to make you a servant. And now that the capitalist system that was created for this country has now aligned with that, they have the perfect system to lock you into a prison planet. And so,
if you don't believe it right now, you got two people arguing over space. You got Elon Musk and who? the Virgin Mobile guy,
Bezos
both making their own.
and
Like,
him.
yeah,
Three.
three.
But you know what? But
Three.
you know what? But here's the deal
You're right.
though. But see. Okay, here's the thing. Honestly, I would get in Branson's plane and fly up into space and then come back because I can come back to Earth. But dig this though. Why do I want to go to Mars and eat potatoes grown with my own dookie? Because they showed you that in The Martian. That's what you're gonna be doing if you go up there. And then what's gonna happen is at some point, people who don't want to do that shit are gonna be into forced slavery, and they're gonna come face to face with the secret space program that was started by the Nazis a long time ago. And then you find yourself in a situation where you're trapped and you can't get back to Earth. And so if you act up, well, we'll just turn your air off. We'll turn your oxygen off. Or we'll increase your gravity to torture your whole cell block. What you gonna do then? We just increase the gravity and you can't even crawl to the toilet to take a shit. What you gonna do then? When you have no oxygen to breathe, just enough to keep you alive, but not enough for you to fight back. What you gonna do then? And then you'll have these fake power outages, so you really can't do anything, but the air is still on. Or they'll be threatening people with, throwing them out of airlock into space.
They brought 10 million African Americans over here, and they do the exact same thing to us to this day.
There it is. There it is.
If they hone their skills on us, and that's why when we speak of this Willie Lynch syndrome in the Willie Lynch papers, that was a handbook for how to keep subservient long after slavery was gone. The bonds are gone. But once you sit here and have somebody's mind in bondage, they will continue to work when you remove the physical bondage. You've seen it over the years. In India, they take a baby elephant and tie that rope around its leg and tie it to a tree where it can't move itself. But then when it becomes a grown elephant, they just tie the rope. Now, the elephant doesn't know the rope. The elephant can pull the tree down, but it doesn't matter because that rope ain't even tied to the tree. It's just a rope. So when that rope goes around his foot, he can't walk because in his mind, he's been taught since he was an infant that if I have this rope on me, I can't go anywhere. Same thing happens with the proletariat.
But that's what I'm saying. When you don't be foolish, as my dad used to say, and don't put yourself into a situation where you are going to be at a disadvantage. If you were going to go to Mars, you exist in somebody else's biosphere. That is not a biosphere created by God or by nature. That is a biosphere created and controlled by mankind. And you are taking the risk of that person being benevolent and not being evil by going there.
You're hoping they are, because if they become benevolent, it's all over for you, my nigga. You're working, you're being raped, you're being eaten. Who knows what's going to happen next? But you're taking that all because you want to be fashionable. All this shit is fashionable. It's fashionable.
They can create a fake enemy and call these people terrorists, and all they are is another arm of that octopus that's controlling everything. And you're being taught to think that this is a natural organic movement of sadists that want to harm people. When in actuality, those are the serial killers that were created by law enforcement to keep everybody in line, just like Jack the Ripper, just like Charles Manson, all of them. They were all created. Yeah.
If you don't believe that they were created, how come whenever these cats get arrested, they never get killed? It drives me crazy because they finally find that California rapist killer. He was an ex-cop. Found out he was a security guard. He was raping women, beating up guys, and shooting people. And then they found him because that whole DNA test thing. So one of his grandchildren got DNA tested, and they realized that the DNA they found at 78. It's a couple problems with that situation, but the bottom line is this: how come the cops didn't shoot his ass by accident? You know what I'm saying? A nigga gets shot by accident every 3 weeks. But that's because that's what white privilege looks like. So and they apprehend you, then you're incorporating like you're senile and can't talk. That's what we're talking about. So they will actually have you feeling sorry for that motherfucker based on the way the media was. That's how powerful the media is. And all these rich people, they always get into the media. They always start buying because look at our boy Bill Gates. He has MSNBC, Microsoft NBC network. Nothing but news, nothing but Microsoft propaganda.
But let's get into this proletariat cosplay for a second. There are so many people that want to hide behind the image of a rebel, and they are anything but that.
Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, keep going. What
you see it in entertainment, you see it in politics, you see it in social movements. People always want to hide behind the poor person, but yet they live in lavish. And you see these people, you see these rappers who claim they did the hardest thug ever created, and they live nowhere near black people. You have the proletariat, the fake proletariat, in the form of the woman couleurs who started Black Lives Matter, bought all them homes, and won none of them around black people. Spent all that money.
If you don't believe in what my brother's telling you about the fake proletariat, you simply look at European fashion throughout the years. The fashion has always been influenced by the poor people, and the rich people would take it on. So when you see these 18th century and 17th century women wearing aprons, or you see the bustle. What was a bustle? Bustle was based on the African chick with the big ass. So because they saw the African chick with the big ass, they created a bustle, which is a fake big ass.
Wireframe booty. It's a wireframe booty.
A wireframe booty. And so it's fake butt cleavage. What I'm trying to get across to you is that it's fashionable because the poor people do it. But the rich people sit here and take it on, and they haven't earned that right. They haven't earned it. Wearing aprons. The people used to wear aprons were like the butchers or the carpenters or the women that had to clean the house. They wore aprons. So you see like, oh, I'm gonna start wearing an apron, even though I'm not getting no dirt on my apron.
Dude, there was this trap music commercial for a McDonald's sandwich, and it was clearly some white dude. I'm like, what? Still doing that shit? Still doing that shit, huh?
Still shucking and jiving, huh? Okay.
Just still culture vampire, still doing that. But what's crazy is that, not to go too far into this, but like all the black people on TikTok revolted, and then the white kids had nothing to copy, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is true. We stopped dancing, and so they had to start producing their own videos. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, ain't it?
And you see how boring it got without black people to entertain the world.
The point we're making is that this shit is not by accident, and the fact is they imitate you. They take what you have, and then they make money on your hard work, your labor. How many forms of music have been co-opted by white people in America? And it goes back, every form of music that's been here that's probably been created by either
or Negroes that were funded by these intelligence groups to create an image, or funded by the military, the prison industrial complex.
Look, so let's start with rap, which all these white rappers now. So okay, we jump back from rap to punk music. Punk, which people don't realize, it had a lot of black roots to punk. Rock and roll, that is black music. R&B, rhythm and blues. You're blues traveler. You're hard pressed to find a new black blues musician, blues artist.
There's some, but they just don't get promotion.
They don't get promoted. I get that. Country and folk started by poor slaves. All this stuff kept coming over here was us. Now there is classical, but even when you start looking at classical, you find out that Brahms, a lot of these cats was mixed. A lot of these guys, Mozart, people were ethnic. Yes, I completely, my brother. I wasn't trying to hurt him, but the bottom line is this: is that we create the stuff and it's taken from us. We create the art form. Now, I'm not saying white folks ain't created nothing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply saying that this pattern, this model has been done over the years. And look at all these different movements started by music. And that's the problem, is that these poor people start the music, and then all of a sudden somebody takes over that art form and they use it for, Okay, we'll keep these niggas in line by throwing them a bone. But we see
Right.
it even we even see it in Russia right now. You know, music is
But but here's the thing though. So they got bored with everything else. They ran out of ideas, and then they started putting devil worship into music. So it was cool, you know, when they put it in white music. It was like, oh, well, white motherfuckers is crazy. And then black people lost their mojo and start copying white music and started putting all that devil worship shit in there. And I'm like, somebody is forcing the hand. That 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 unseen hand that controls the music industry is putting that shit in there because it's the same stuff that has people who are on the inside or tell you that Puffy would have rituals, that these people in black people in the music industry would have these rituals, and they would have these sex slave rituals for sexual magic, and they would get the tape masters once they're recorded,
and
and
have sex on them.
they would pray over them and have blood sacrifices and pour them over the masters and have rituals over these objects to bind spirits to them to control these people and the life of the entity that is now in that music. These dark arts that these people are practicing. It's real.
Look,
It's so real.
look. Here's the deal. Whenever people don't believe that, how many of these old school rockers would interview people like, "Hey man, I asked, oh boy, at Sony if they still do this. I just threw Sony out there. It's not Sony." And he's like, "Yeah, they still do that to this day. A lot of these rituals, these blood sacrifices, they got documentation. This is coming from like old school people. They said they used to do it back in the day, and they're like, well, they still do this shit now." And back to the original thing. This is when we talk about academic
cowardice.
What happens is that they instead of teaching you how to think for yourself or create for yourself, they teach you how to be secure and how to fear what can happen to you if you don't play ball. That's what they're doing. They're teaching you how to squirm. They're teaching you how to find a safe place when the world is not really that bad to begin with.
Let's start with the medical schools. The first edict of the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm. And these pharmaceutical companies are doing everything to harm people. And it's all over the commercials when you hear the disclaimer and all the side effects that are harmful to you. They do everything but help you.
And here's the problem. Check this out. The only recourse you have is when somebody does something like that is to sue, right? Well, you can't sue over vaccines because they passed a law so you couldn't sue. So that's the crazy part. So even the one recourse you got has been removed from you.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
Yourself.
You cannot sue them for malpractice, but you can sue them for fraud. That is the loophole. So in foreign countries, Pfizer has been sued for billions of dollars for fraud. Now, how about this crazy shit? They've been sued by a bunch of people in, guess where? Nigeria, for fraud. So the kingdom of fraud is suing a corporation for fraud. That's completely ironic. So ironic that all the scam artists in this country, and they're suing somebody else for fraud. I mean, you know, it's a dirty business, but it is what it is.
They recognize bullshit. They call bullshit on. Whoa.
They call bullshit on their bullshit. They're like, no, we make the best bullshit. You can't bullshit like we bullshit.
Yeah. We lie to everybody. You ain't gonna lie to us.
Oh no. Our bullshit is the best in Africa. We have the best form of corruption on the planet Earth. We have the best way of subjugating our own people better than the white man. We are better at selling out to the slave masters. We are better at selling out to the IMF, to the Pfizer, to the Johnson & Johnson. And you know what? Even today, we are making our own African people suffer and take the vaccine first because we will have billions of dollars in Switzerland so we can have the Baphomet swinging goat titty parties.
Damn right. Look, well, it's ironic. It's only funny because it's true, but it's actually very painful. The fact that, like I said, we usher. I think Neely Fuller Jr. said it best when they asked him, oh, how come you're not a doctorate? How come you don't have a doctorate? He said, why do I need a doctorate from a white man to tell you how a white man has treated me like shit? What he's breaking down to you is that because he doesn't have a title, all of a sudden he's not valid.
But see that goes back to what I said in the first few minutes of the show. When people need those that they trust to validate their reality, and they're putting the trust in the wrong damn people. And this is the whole crazy thing about this whole entire pandemic that's been going on for the past year and a half, is the fact that people have been trusting the medical industry of America, the most corrupt medical system in the world. Okay? They're known for corruption and being profit driven. And you fucking trust these people? Are you out of your fucking mind? This is the biggest con of all time, man. And dude, you know what's crazy? I'm just gonna say it. It just rings of this whole mark of the beast shit. Because they keep threatening with these vaccine passports, man. You know what I mean? And everybody just keeps taunting that shit. Vaccine passport. You can't get into this country. Says who? Says who? Where? Where is this? Where are you seeing this? Because I went to the State Department and I've read the countries and I don't see this shit anywhere.
But that's hold it. What you did, here's what you did wrong. You went to research it for yourself. These people, they get a headline or a tagline and they run with it. And okay, so you want to go on a cruise ship? Well, I need a vaccine. Look again. Most of the people you don't need a vaccine.
Okay. To get into Nigeria, you must have a vaccine passport that we will issue for you so we can get credit in the IMF.
All they want is your money. They don't care about your health. And you're so afraid to speak up because what? You don't know any better? You saw it on MSNBC, you saw it on CNN, you saw it on Fox.
Right.
If you don't see it on TV or worse, when you see a video, it must be real. Now,
you know it's crazy. Hold on, I gotta say this real quick. There was this news show I used to listen to, and this old crazy dude used to tell me, he was like, that lady's a sellout, that lady's a sellout. I'm like, you know what? You might be right, but I haven't seen nothing yet on this show that, to make me think this motherfucker's a sellout. Well, a month ago, she was talking about this whole Delta variant of coronavirus. And I'm like, yo, you are towing this party line now. You are like, you were the vanguard of like the most conscious news outlet. And now you are towing the party line to this bullshit. And I'm like, dude, for real? And it's so crazy because all you got to do, man, is just threaten. Listen, man, like what this revealed is how many cowards there are out there, not just in academia, but in entertainment and in the news media. They're out there and they're everywhere, dude. Everybody just wants to fit in and be accepted and yazz the boss to like the fucking system just so they can be safe. That's what I mean about the lack of a punk rock mentality. But the craziest part is the motherfuckers that I've hated for the longest time are the people that are the most punk rock about this shit when the shit hits the fan. You know what I'm saying? It's bananas, dude.
Look, it's the DIY. It's the ones who are like, look, let me find out for myself. And then when they do, they try to tell everybody. But because here's the other thing, because somebody made a mistake in the past, they hold that against them. Well, he said that the mad cow disease was. And so I'm like, okay.
But you know what I'm seeing? You know what I'm seeing, man? I'm seeing that when the zombie apocalypse starts, the peoples that I thought were my enemy are the people that'll probably be shoulder to shoulder blasting these motherfuckers with. You know what I'm saying? And then the people
No,
that I
no,
thought was cool. Wait. The
that's
people that I
good.
thought was cool are the ones that would be trying to sell you out to get you that zombie bite injection.
Look,
And then, but
um,
hold on. You got your booster shot, right? Because you know you got to get a booster shot now. Yeah, that's what they say. You got to get that booster shot. What the fuck are you talking about? Because this vaccine is supposed to make everything all right. Because, oh, that's right. Because it wasn't tested. Because there wasn't enough study done. That's the cowardly academia that I'm talking about.
look, here's the deal. So, they're talking about dogs getting coronavirus and stuff, but they're not
Which
talking
is
about.
complete horseshit.
Hold it. I'm not done yet. Hold it. But they don't have a vaccine for dogs. Now, do you know why they don't have a vaccine for dogs? Because when they tested this on animals, the animals, 95% of the animals died.
Hey, listen. This lady that I work with told me that she had to get her dog vaccinated if her dog goes outside and gets in like the river. And I'm like, what? Why? She said because well their stomachs they can't eat it. I said da 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 da. I said what you need to understand is that dog comes from a wolf.
Whoa!
That
Oh, they,
that that hold up.
hey,
That dog comes from a wolf. Your
hold on,
house cat,
Roscoe.
hold on. Your house cat is descendant of a saber-toothed tiger. You understand? That thing cats eat birds like we eat Kit Kats.
Look,
Okay?
look I got some funny stories for you. First things first. Okay, look. I've had Pits, American
You
Bulldogs,
had all kind of
and
dogs, dude. All
yeah,
kinds.
yeah. And so I used to agree with you until I got this bull terrier. Now, this bull terrier I got, he's an accessory. He's not a real dog. He is a pocketbook. He is a bracelet. He's not a real dog. This thing, he's a very. I remember me and my wife before we got married. We had looked at a bull terrier, and they're like, "Hey, he's allergic to grass. He's allergic to sunlight." This is a true story. He can't have too much oxygen. Like what?
No, no, no,
I
no, no,
think.
no, no. Stop. Here's the thing. You know what happens to a pig if it gets out in the wild and it stays
Oh,
out there?
it
It
goes
goes
feral after
feral.
a week.
It goes feral.
After a week,
You know
yeah.
what happened to cats? If they stay out in the wild, they go feral. Okay? A dog, if you leave him alone long enough, if he doesn't get eaten by like a falcon or some bird of prey, that motherfucker is gonna his fangs are gonna get longer. He's gonna get more mangier and crazier, and he's gonna survive just fine. That little pussy ass dog you talking about will survive just
Uh,
fine, given enough time to evolve.
Trust me, he will survive because somebody will take care of him. He's a piece of he's charming piece of crap. But the point, but I
But
completely agree with you.
No. But bro, I'm talking about the dogs. Pokey,
Hey, Pokey could
Pokey.
survive anywhere, and he would
Yo,
get some trim.
everybody backstory. Pokey was the dog that he had when we were kids. Okay. And I had an outside dog. This motherfucker, he stayed outside. I would bring him inside when it was like super cold. I would bring him, put him in the basement. But listen, both of our dogs would outlive us. They would outlive the apocalypse. What I'm
They
telling
were
you
out,
is,
but they were outside dogs though. Just for the record, the
yes.
white folks don't know what that is. Like you would bring your dog
Yo,
in if you had to,
you know what's
but
crazy? Like the people that got these big ass dogs and they don't put them outside. I'm like, you know where your dog got fucked up hips? Because that motherfucker is on the couch all the time.
all the
Because you don't make him run around outside and bark at the mailman. Make that
time.
dog go outside,
He
man.
needs to earn it. He needs to earn his keep. Like
Hey,
I mean, people would ask me, well, why do you have big dogs? Why don't you just smaller dog? I said because I'm a dog owner. If you know I own a dog, and say I get beat up, say somebody broke in my house or I was walking out and I got jumped, they go first. Where was your dog at? Right there. Like when I had Tenacious and Domino, I remember one time I was doing it was a work event and we
that
were
that
doing a
that
car wash.
motherfucker would bark at me and I would get mad. I'm like, bitch, don't you know who the fuck I am? Like, what you doing barking at me?
And he didn't care. He was just as arrogant. That's what people hate about my dog. I remember I was in North Omaha, and this is the black part of town, and we were doing this black event for my job. It's called BEN, Black Employee Network. So we're doing this, and I bring my bulldog in my pit, and they were all scared of him. By the end of the day, everybody's petting my dog, giving him treats. Like he's the most well-behaved dog. I'm like, yeah. Why is you bringing this in? Because I don't have a gun on me at a work event. And if somebody jump on me, he's coming out the back of this truck tearing y'all limb from limb. I don't care who y'all are. He's trained to protect. Like, yeah, people. I'm not stupid. If I can't bring my gun, I'm gonna have both my dogs. Now, may they rest in peace. But yeah, they would kill anybody. I got so many stories about my dog going after people. I felt bad for people for 5 seconds. Look, but according to the media, pit bull is the worst dog you can have. According to the media,
But see,
black men are criminals.
but here's the thing though. That these dogs are analogies for people. And
Yes, yes.
if you pussify a dog, it won't be able to survive on its own. And the same thing goes for human beings. The pussification of
Of
humanity
America.
is the downfall of humanity.
But it's done on purpose. If you have a dog and that dog can't get loose and provide for itself, it's going to come back to you because it needs food. But that is the same analogy for us. If we can't survive without government, if we can't survive without Big Brother watching over us, then guess what? We will be holding to some master someplace. These people are doing that shit on purpose. Then they parade these authorities like Fauci in front of you. And based on what side you agree with, Democrat or Republican, that means Fauci knows what he's talking about. It's not either he's telling the truth or he's not. It should not be based on your affiliation, whether he's accurate. It should be based on reality. Like, hey, was this shit bad? Hey, did this motherfucker know about it? Hey, are there other things out there? And here's what you must understand. Whenever they come up with these other treatments for the coronavirus, what that does, it makes, listen to me, that makes the vaccine illegal. These vaccines have a contingency use. They were never finished testing. It takes 23 years or whatever. Well, they were testing for 10 years. It takes 23 years. And in the year 2023, they would have been available for use. So because of this coronavirus, because of the emergency, they're allowing you to use it. But guess what? When you find out there's other treatments out there, that makes these actually illegal. So whenever you find out about vitamin D, whenever you find out about that chemical that's in these
Oh, see, now you're talking, man. Okay,
they said that, yeah, now you're hearing about how bad the coronavirus is in India right now, but when it first hit, remember, India had no cases, had like 300 cases. They can't figure out why. They come to find out there's something in their diet. I don't want to give the wrong name, so please forgive me. I'm not going to give the name, so I don't remember what it is. But there's a chemical that's found in something that they eat in high levels that actually fights the coronavirus.
Right. So what they do is they're like, all right, look, these Indian motherfuckers got super genes. We got to come out with a variant that's going to take these brown motherfuckers down. But you also got to understand, these people have been raging against the machine, against the vaccine. Raging against the vaccine. That's what they've been doing. Rage against the vaccine. And they have been catching hell for this. Every time there's a country, every time there's a country, whether it's the country or whether it's the president of the country, when you rail against it, you either get assassinated or you get blackballed in the media.
Or you get suicided. Don't forget about that. It's called, back in the day, the cartel, if an official didn't bend down to the Mexican cartel, they would get suicided. Like, he killed himself, but he was shot 9 times. Oh, he killed himself.
Silver or lead? What do you want?
Yeah, silver or lead. What that means is either I can help you or I can hurt you. Either I can give you the silver, which is the money, or I can give you lead, that's a bullet. That's what they used to tell people. And half those politicians took the deal because they're like, well, hell, these motherfuckers don't like me anyway.
But here's the thing, though. Let's go back to this academic cowardice, because it was not being taught when everybody was falling over dead from the coronavirus. Like, it was so crazy that nobody's talking about how we cured the flu. Yeah, the flu was cured. There was no deaths of the flu. Isn't that amazing that nobody had the flu? But all of a sudden, everybody has the coronavirus. But my point is, they weren't talking about how you should take vitamin C and be complex and exercise and get sunlight. And the crazy part about it is, I have never, ever in my whole life, when I was in California, when I was in Florida, have I ever seen so many people in my life working out outdoors. This had to be the most fittest America had ever been. The year of 2020 was the year of their exercise fanatic. Swear to God.
Look. Like I said, I live in Omaha, which is a smaller city. But when they had the whole house thing and everybody was in quarantine, white women were still jogging.
Yep.
White women, I've never seen so many white women run in my life, and
Running.
I'm like, but that demographic wasn't getting it. I'm just trying to tell you right now that vitamin D is a real thing.
Yeah. There was no quarantine here in Atlanta. Like we still kept it rocking. But still everybody was outdoors exercising and it was the craziest thing. Like, dude, I mean every place, every street you were on, side street, main street, motherfuckers running down the side of the highway. I mean, I'm talking about everywhere, dude. Like people are working out in parks, jump squats, burpees, kettlebells, everything, pull-ups, push-ups, running, CrossFit, everywhere, just working out. And I'm like, wow. And all these people instinctually knew that all I got to do is exercise and I'll be okay. But yet they kept on pushing the fear on you. And it was fear porn. And nobody was speaking about how people were tired of hearing this shit. Nobody about how people were getting fatigued with all the fear. And eventually, guess what? The news ratings went back down because people stopped smoking that fear.
Look, people are full of shit, and they're doing it to control you, and they want you in fear. When you're afraid, you are much more malleable. You're much more easy to control. We've talked about it in other podcasts. But the thing is, what we're trying to get you to realize is you're fearful by design. They start teaching you in grade school that if you do this, you'll get in trouble. They start teaching you that in high school, now they teach you in college. And so now you're stuck believing that there's nothing you can do about it.
But here's the thing, but it goes back further because 20 years ago, when September 11th happened, that was the beginning of the police state. That was the beginning of the surveillance state. And that was the beginning of the rise of snitch culture. If you see something, say something.
Hold it. There's a couple terms I want to put out there. I know we got to go soon. So here's the deal. After 9/11, remember what they say? We'll never be the same again. Things have changed. Then the exact same thing happened to us again when it came to COVID. Oh, things will never be the change. Everything will never be the same. Things will always change.
Because they're prepping you for a sea change to let you know that this is what we're going to do. We're going to create the Patriot Act and we're going to take away your rights. Hey, guess what? The coronavirus is happening, so you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't speak out against this. You'll be silenced if you talk bad about China. All these things are interrelated. So it's all related to cowardice. And the worst thing, see, listen, evil happens when good men do nothing. Bottom line.
Look, hey, we're warning you that there's nothing really. We're not saying that the shit doesn't exist. We're not saying that you can't get sick. But I'm saying you've always could have got sick. Be healthy. I don't know if you're wearing a mask worked or not, but just wash your hands and wash your ass. Stop looking for a magic pill to fix everything. That's a hustle because if they can quantitate it, if they can put a price tag on it, they will. So don't fall for that shit, please.
Well, this conversation has largely been about cowardice in academics and rich people hiding behind poor people and using them as sacrificial lambs or the proletariat cosplay, as I called it earlier. But these things are actually tied together because it's cowardly to hide behind poor people. They don't have a voice. They can't speak for themselves. And so you have these rich people who attempt to put on the clothes of a poor person and masquerade in that, and so that they can then later go back to their house in the hills and that castle on the hill, that crystal castle separated from reality. For the impetus for this show was about this blog entry that I read, and it was a professor from Howard that was congratulating another person from Howard and telling her that, you're going to be cut off soon from the 7 years that you're allowed to, have your tenure at the school, because these universities create a safe space where these professors are separated from the real world and they can exist in a bubble and they're existing off of funds that are generated by other people. And so what they're allowed to do is create these radical ideas without testing them in the real world. And this blog entry, this paper, was an open letter to this person that knew that their time was up because they were starting to get money from other sources. Well, that just basically means that you can't double dip, motherfucker. Your time is up and you got to come out here in the real world like everybody else and you got to fall and bust your ass and earn a fucking living. And I'm perfectly fine with that because your ass is grown. And stop trying to hide in a place where you're safe because the world is not safe. And stop trying to teach students that they can say what they want without repercussions and that the rest of the world, it will not fucking come for you because they have come for you. And they're called China and Russia. And they're fighting wars of attrition through psychological psyops and false flags. And it's going to continue to happen because you're allowing it to happen. That's what we got to say. We out. Peace.
Holla back, y'all.